What should I pay for a 300 TD wagon? I get this question more now than I've ever gotten before. Suddenly, everybody who wanted a 300 TD is buying one, and they're buying them at the same time. So this has created three problems. First of all, it's driven up the price of really good cars. Two, it's inflated the price of average cars. And number three, of course, the supply is not infinite for these things. So you get a lot of people overpaying for cars that they shouldn't have overpaid for. By the way, I have the hiccups. So these problems are nothing more than a sign that the market for these cars is finally reaching the point where it's supposed to. And sometimes markets for classic cars mature slowly, and sometimes they mature quickly. When the market for a classic car matures slowly, what ends up happening is you have people who are smart and buy the car they want ahead of time. They're able to make a rational decision without feeling pressured, and they end up buying a good example for a fair price to the buyer and seller. But the 300 TD market has exploded out of nowhere, and we've seen the market making leaps and bounds in price over the past 2 or 3 years. And now we almost, a lot of us, including myself, sometimes struggle to figure out what a specific car is worth. So I thought about this a little bit, and it seems to me like there might be a solution here. I've thought through this after talking with a couple of 300 TD buyers. If you're looking at one of these cars and you're choosing between a car that really has not had a lot of maintenance work done, but as a car that's been in long-term ownership and maybe has been sitting for a long time but has good bones, good cosmetics, good engine, automatically that is a car you should probably pursue over a car that's had the illusion of being repaired. Without saying too many names, I was speaking with a subscriber out on the West Coast who bought a car that he thought had been fully sorted, and he had paid about $12,000 for it. This car was an 85 TD. It was a metallic color and had a really bad respray, and it was sorted by a guy that works in a bunch of these out in California. It was kind of a ragged, tired car that had a cheap respray and a dash cap put on it. And the cheap respray basically made the car look better than it was in the photos and caused the customer to pay over $12,000 for it. Now, this is a red flag. And what is the red flag? The red flag is the car is marketed well, but actually doesn't have a substantial list of improvements that were done. And when you don't see a substantial list of improvements in a car that means anything, like replacing lower ball joints or lower control arm bushings or replacing climate control actuators and lock actuators, like stuff that's a little difficult to do and will cut into the profit margins of somebody who has who has a lot of car to sort out. When you see a car like this, generally it's a red flag that the person bought a really tired car for $3,000 to $5,000 and put a cheap paint job on it. And we're going to see a lot of cheap paint job TDs out there that are selling for more than average money. In the meantime, when you see a car that's advertised in the $15,000 to $20,000 range that might be an honest car, it is actually worth taking a look at, but there is a lot of greed on behalf of the sellers. The question you have to ask yourself is it better to save $5,000 in 6 to 8 months and a lot of nights searching the internet, because you want to save a few $1,000s in the price of one car versus another? Or are you willing to sort of wait and hope that the market doesn't get any higher and maybe it dips a little bit in the next few months, so maybe you could find a good original car and not have to sort it out? All of these are viable questions, but the 123 wagons are definitely more highly sought after than any other version of the 123 series, although the sedans are picking up well too. So this is my advice for you now if you're looking for a wagon about what to pay. Search for the good, honest cars. Don't look for the cars on Bring a Trailer that are publicly advertised for sale that have a bunch of cosmetic improvements and some mechanical improvements, but where you can't really document every single aspect of the car. Unless you can go see it for yourself, I don't think you need to pay $30,000 or $40,000 for one of these things. Number two, learn to do some of the work yourself so that you can actually get into one of the cars with some confidence. I think there are two people right now looking for 300 TDs. Hardcore Mercedes fans who've always wanted one, and now that they better know now that they need to get their butt in gear and start acting on their whims. And then you have car guys. Car guys are okay, but they're, the car guy is the guy in your circle of friends that has like a bunch of diverse cars that talks too much. And, they're overly into, maybe even a little bit narcissistic about their Porsche that they own. They think everything is neat and cool that has to do with cars. They're not really tied to a specific type of car. And if they have a car, they might keep it for a year or two and then they sell it. So there's a difference between being like a Mercedes guy and a car guy. And we'll talk about car guys versus Mercedes guys one of these days in one of these videos. But what it boils down to is I'm more of, and like many people on this channel, more of a Mercedes guy. And if you're a car guy, then any car is interesting and fascinating to you, and you'll own anything, and you never really get the complete satisfaction, I think, of owning a car that you really like. So these car guys who think the TDs are neat and cool but can't distinguish a really great car from an okay car, and they think that just because something is advertised and bring a trailer means it's a good example, they're driving the price of these cars up. If you want to find the driving force, that's it. For people who are into a long-term hold, it's better to find a good original car, even if you have to pay 50% more than you would have had to pay for it about 10 years ago, or even 100% more. And so my advice is try to focus on original cars and not cars that have been bought and cheaply resprayed or bought and sorted out and then flipped on an internet platform. And that's the best advice I can give you. And if you're not planning on keeping one of these things for life, you're looking at the wrong car. That's another good advice point I can give you. Okay, so if you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for riding it out until the end. Please tap the bell for notifications. And if you're supporting us on Patreon, thank you so much. And in the meantime, if you're looking at a 123 series car, good move. Just don't pay too much. See you guys in the next video.